different industries. And he and his friend Dan, I think, are sort of responsible for the PC revolution. It was an accident. But how many people here use VisiCalc?
How many people here are old enough to remember this game?
So co-created by Bob. Anyway, thank you, Bob. And you're going to give the history of the bots?
I don't know his history as much as we start off with Seymour. How many of you know who Seymour Papert is? He had great influence on me, and he was at the sort of the intersection between psychology. He was a student of Jean Piaget, developmental psychology, but also a mathematician, and he was by right in the EE department. So he was at this intersection of how we understand things, how we communicate, how we see the world. And if you're familiar with Lego Logo, that was from him. The one PC for child is also from him. And he basically spoke about, okay. Well, now that we've lost the signal, I'll just have to go on autopilot. Oh, hang tight. Okay, don't worry about it. Don't look behind the curtain. And basically emphasize that learning is interactive and involved in the process. Now, MIT at the time was very interesting. Joe Weizenbaum did a program called ELIZA, or Doctor, you might have heard of. It simulated a simple psychologist, but he was trying to show how simple rules can appear intelligent. And, in a sense, you could say he was debunking AI shows all illusion, but he was also debunking natural intelligence, because even if people knew it was a robot, they would get engaged with it. And, okay, I'm a little off screen, so I'll read it. He emphasized the importance of context in understanding that you don't understand things in isolation, and that there's no such thing as absolute understanding. And this, remember, half a century ago, so this idea of bots is not exactly new. The other experience at that point was Sherdlin. Now, how many of you know Terry Winograd? He's at Stanford now. And basically, in 1969, whatever it is, we thought he solved AI. Just another year or two, we'd have natural language. Was understood things. And then we understood there was a trick. It worked because it was such a constrained context. And this is really an important thing in understanding a lot of AI and learning and bots, is that I look behind to see, okay, what's really going on? So when Google announced that they beat the Go champion, well, Watson did Jeopardy. Great, we solved it. But each case, they solved a special case. They did a lot of work, they did a lot of hacks. Now, don't be so smug, because we're just special cases too. We're just different. So limited context is a very important thing about the bots. They work fine as long as you know the process. If you call up an airline bot for reservation, and you ask, is the view great? It's going to have a problem. And this goes back to, this is not just really about bots, it's about how we communicate. How many of you were puzzled by the silence of feeling anxious? That's part of the message. How we write numbers. There are all sorts of implicit channels we use and cultural things that are part of communicating. It's not just explicit words, but sort of the whole context and background. And it requires a shared context. This goes back to what Weizenbaum said. That, and when you speak to another person from the same culture, you still have a context. But actually after this election, you discover that they don't necessarily. And even more so when you speak to devices. But the important thing is to have a conversation. That's how you start to establish the context. You test the understanding. And we'll get to see how the conversation is the key to understanding what the internet is. And of course, we also use the same technique internally. The inner dialogue is a very important part of understanding. Now, this was driven home to me, well, it's pun intended. When I tried renting Teslas on the East Coast and West Coast. And it's very different. The roads speak a different language on each coast. And the cars speak a different language. But we have a tendency to anthropomorphize, to assume they're like us and they'll do what's expected. And you die. So again, there's nothing wrong, but what's important is to understand when we deal with chatbots and everything, they're not like humans. So somebody speaking to a chatbot will have a mental model. If the mental model is speaking to another person, they have different results than if they understand what the shared context is or what the limits are. So in a sense, these things work until they don't, which is important, why it's so important to have, again, conversation. Another part of this is big data, big data. Now, part of the rationale for big data is Cisco wants to sell out of gear. But it also enables you to do things that humans can't do. It makes you seem more intelligent. You know all these facts and things that the person doesn't. It's a complementary intelligence, a way of thinking. But again, it's not magic, and we tend to focus too much on the big data part as opposed to the fact that these are just new mixes, new opportunities. But there's not just one, center, one cloud. There are a lot of different activities, and most of it we have to learn from biology and robotics is processed locally. Our eyes do a lot of processing locally. They don't just send raw, it's not a video model. And data bits by themselves are just bits, they're meaningless. So you have to basically understand this difference between knowledge, information, meaning, and the raw data. But there's also, I started out by talking about Seymour Papert story psychology. Of course, I'm a geek, a programmer, look at all the bits. And in one of my recent columns, I looked at history of programming, and I started out by pointing out that in the 1950s, we'd solve programming. How many of you know about automatic programming? Okay, you know the name of the language? Fortran. That was automatic programming, was to solve the problem of programming. Was no longer did you have to go through each step in detail and explain everything to the computer, you just write a formula. Then we discovered that, okay, we have that, but how do we get the formula? So each step we go back and we have to try to understand the problem we're trying to solve. And one of the directions we've gone in then is to be more descriptive. That instead of writing down each step, you can describe things. We've gone from directories. I remember when Yahoo first did its directory. I thought, great. I didn't appreciate how important search was going to be. Because directories seem to have structured knowledge and information. We know each step. So part of the thing about chatbots and machine learning is that we're going to a shift from having to worry about each detail to sort of be approximate and take advantage of having a conversation in order to adjust, adapt, to make things work. And so this is why chatbots don't have to really understand you. Visa doesn't understand you, whether you're going to be as a person. They just want to understand you as pay or not pay. It's not the same model you have. So the more we can do things descriptively, there are different problems we solve, but problems we couldn't have solved if we had to really fully understand it first. The other big factor, and this gets more to how we communicate, because the word communicate is ambiguous, is communicating over distance. Now, the previous Monage was at the Boston Public Library, which is the endpoint of the Boston Marathon. And you think of Philippides as their early message character, early version of telecom. He'd carry a message for you. Unfortunately, he died at the end, but the postal system works a little better. But as we developed technology for communicating over distance, we shifted from carrying messages. We carried messages, but the new thing about the telecom and telegraphs is we were carrying bits, but we didn't appreciate it. So we have policies that assume we're still carrying meaningful messages when we're carrying meaningless bits. But we're also not having a conversation, so we have to have a very complex system to keep all those bits perfectly in line, sort of like a railroad has to make sure trains follow the track. So we have an entire set of policies based on a very naive, simplistic view of what it means to communicate. It's a model of communication that assumes that meaning is in the bits, and that we have to really trust somebody on our behalf to make sure it all works, because you don't get a second try. I mean, there's a thing where you're supposed to measure twice and cut once. Now with software, we just cut, and then we see what we did and we fix it up. It's a very different way of thinking. So to understand the difference between getting bits and messages, of course, what we do with software, this is the way traditional telecommunication will get a picture of Mickey across. It's like the way fax works, or I don't even remember television with scanning lines. Each one bit, you trust the carrier to make sure each bit goes across in the precise time, the precise manner. And it worked. We can't do any better than this. We lose a bit, we lose part of the picture. But with software, we could shift to a different approach of getting the message across. We just tag each pixel, each corner, and we just send it across. Doesn't matter if it comes in any order. It's like the difference between carefully sending a document pixel by pixel, just ripping it up in pieces, throwing it out, and somehow it assembles properly at the other end. That's like magic, but it's because we can use software, we have a shared meaning, we have a conversation, and we understand that we're communicating. As a matter of fact, I can just send the word Mickey, and if you know Mickey, that would be enough. It all depends on what you're communicating. When you're sending bits, you don't know what the meaning is. When you know what the meaning is, you have more options. Now, to make this more clear of how this is not about telecommunication, not about bits, my mother wanted to send a toy from the East Coast to my nephew on the West Coast. And she asked me to send the toy. How do you send a toy across the country? You obviously just put in the, postal service and they'll carry it across. How can we do any better? I mean, it's a physical object, you gotta get across the country. Or, you do what I did. Toys on the East Coast. You send the part number or barcode to the West Coast. And the toy materializes on the other coast. Thing is, it's the same toy. And this is central point. To understand that is the very same toy on the other coast. How many of you think it's not the same toy? How many of you are awake? That's the problem with talking up in the morning. You can't make these assumptions. But this is the central point of software. The message is not in the bits. The message is in the context. And this applies even to physical objects, which is why this is very transformational. We're still on the near side of a major shift in understanding. So we have to think about what it means to communicate. I actually like the term convosphere. Now I'm not sure what Jeff meant by it, but I like it because it's talking about the conversation apart from the details of how we do it. And really that's the context, where the message is. Versus telecommunications, which is a warped idea, because we use this term, metonymy, which is where you use an attribute to describe something. So because we use these means to communicate, to send messages, we call it telecommunications. But that's just a means. It's not really communications in the sense, communicating in the sense people do. It's just a means we use. But we have basically complete policies, trillions of dollars of money, business plans, all based on mistranslation. We have a lot of these words like broadband information. All these words embody misunderstandings because they confuse two very different things just because the words are accidentally the same. It's like if you say you're feeling blue, you don't expect the face to be the color blue. Maybe you do. But those kind of confusions make it very difficult to communicate. And one of the big problems is we have something called the Federal Communications Commission. What is that? Is that something that makes the technology work using a 19th century business model? Or is it the commission that says what words we're allowed to use? Now I know historically why they did it, because in the 1920s we didn't understand how to communicate. So we made turn colors and frequencies into property. It was insane, but that legitimized licensing speech. But also put us in the position of trying to make a business model of carrying speech work, and it can't. Because the meaning, again, is not in the bits. So we need to have policies that separate the technology we use for communicating from the message and what we're trying to say. And we do have a model for this. Roads don't tell us what we're carrying versus railroads, which charge it for carrying freight. So this is about economics and has infrastructure implications. We need, the term rent seeking means somebody just makes money by being able to prevent you from doing something. They're not adding value, they're just charging for the ability. So we basically have a rent-seeking model for communicating, for conversations, independent of value. The value is in the conversation, yet the rent seeker will not let us speak or communicate or do anything unless they make money. And it's not just about price. It creates problems with bad models of security. We have this thing called Wi-Fi security, which is a nutty idea, perimeter security. What we need is really ambient connectivity. You should be able to communicate where you are. The big new thing is we can do this over distance. And it's got to be free to use, so we don't have to justify each application to a rent seeker or provider. Now the good news is we can in fact change from the edge. If we're not dependent upon a provider carrying the message, we're able to basically, because we have a conversation, so the term is best efforts. If we lose a few bits, okay, we can make up for that. This is what will enable change, not by petitioning the Federal Communications Commission, because by definition, they're dedicated to the proposition that you're not allowed to communicate unless the provider makes money. That's their purpose, they're created for that. So but we can create change from the edge, and by changing economics, we remove the need for such an organization. So that's why we can start locally, as we did for the internet, and start interconnecting systems. Another thing, there are also side issues, like instead of security, we should talk about trust models. This is where things get complicated, get a much longer talk. When you're chatting with a chatbot, what do you trust it with? These things start to become complicated. We assume they work in the simple case, and then we extrapolate and discover they don't work. But this gets more complicated. So in a sense, trust is a kind of, messaging. I mean, it's not simple. How many, there are people you trust with your lives, there are people you trust with your money. They're not the same people. So I want to give a chance for a few questions. So let's start a conversation. Any questions? Anybody awake? Nobody's a question, I'll have to call on somebody. It's a threat.
Yeah, so if you were to summarize what you said, what are the 5 areas of evolution of bots in the conversation? So it started with what and it went from where to where?
Well, I don't know that it's quite evolution. We're basically going back to our understanding, sort of from psychology and meaning. We went through an era where we're so excited about the ability to communicate over distance. We assume, very mechanical view, we assume directories and everything. Now we're discovering that, for example, take machine learning. We have to understand people evolved, and this goes back to robotics, over millennia, to have hardware or co-evolved, is a better term, that hardware that works in a certain way. Our eyes detect lines, shapes. They're designed to work a particular way we do. Now, the assumption we're making is with machine learning that we can duplicate this, we can discover patterns, and what a pattern's important. There's no one algorithm for it. We co-evolve with that, which meant it was very hard to do for a long time. Now, we're making up some of it by having sort of sheer quantity of calculations. So we can do a lot more. It turns out that with brute force, we can do well in chess. Because, when we first, in the 60s, we realized how many trillions of calculations you need to figure out chess. So it was a really great AI problem. Then we discovered, only a trillion calculations? Oh, we can do that, that's easy. But we have to be aware that it's not the same as understanding. And the other thing, as we get excited by algorithms, we're going to be, assume they're magic and they have an understanding. So I think we're now in a phase where we're discovering what we can do by taking advantage of sheer quantity, by taking advantage of new contexts. So when I call my airline, there's enough constraint, going back to Sherdloo, that we're now applying to real world problems. We need to remember that we're still depending on those constraints. So I know it's evolution as much as we're sort of realizing new possibilities. Yes.
You mentioned earlier about the kind of mental models people form when interacting with these technologies and chatbots. How do you see that changed over time, and how do you see that changing in the future? That affects a lot of what we're all.
No, I understand, and just in terms of people's mental models in this last election. I think it's going to be a while, because I think we're going to have a lot more magical thinking, is my worry. That because the terminology, it was complicated, but the terminology we use to talk about this goes back to Pampered, for dynamic systems, anthropomorphic. We model them as people. And I say people are very different, but a lot of the same, I mean, animism goes back many years. I think the Stoner's personality have all these folk explanations for things. But people are computational models too, they're just different. And the danger is we're going to assume that they're wise and knowledgeable when they're just other algorithms. In the same way we assume people are wise and knowledgeable, and when they're just have their own algorithms.
What would you say would be the best response to people who are fearful, like the science fiction film, where machines are going to become so smart they take over the world?
This was, you know, I remember this goes back to 60, saying what worries. One of the answers was, well, they're that smart, why would they care about us? You know, and if you go to Matrix, batteries, that's our future? No, there are better ways to store power. But the danger is that bad algorithms have a corrupting effect. We come up with basically misunderstandings of the world and apply those. So it's not just the machines. So it's really, in a sense, a global system where an oops can have major effects. So it's not the machines taking over as much as us taking over. And that worries me more.
Bob, how do you differentiate chatbots from voice-activated NLP, Alexa, Siri kind of stuff? Do you see them as the same?
I see there's an overlap. I mean, again, when we use words, like when I use the word sane, we're writing the definition of the word. So basically, I see chatbot as sort of a technology we're using more, you know, speech. I won't say recognition, because the problem is the word recognition, we don't, we're self-referential, we're talking about language itself. So when you talk about recognize, we might recognize, it sounds like this word in this context. Okay, that's probably what it means. So we can do an airline reservation by slotting it in. But again, that's the way people understand language too. So I think that basically I would view them the same. The main difference I would say is Alexa is still more of a one-way. It doesn't remember context, doesn't think, but I think that's a technical thing. It's when Alexa can remember context and have a conversation that it becomes more of a chat.
One more question. One more?
Zero more? Okay.
So, what do you see as the future where there are going to be neural nets and algorithms that are opaque from human understanding? How would that affect things?
Magic. Have faith. That's the scary part, because a lot of the ones, even where you can look at every detail, you don't understand what's going on. Now, I gave it to a TEDx talk recently, where I pointed out, how many people remember the days when you write programs by sticking holes in pieces of cardboard? I know a lot of you here remember that. But the world was very simple then, and you could see how things built up from it. And then, and this was back in 1963, our first line. By 1766, I was working on an online system being developed at Berkeley, a very complex system. And you no longer can see every detail. So any complex system becomes inscrutable. The question is, do you have a mental model that correlates well with what's really happening? So I think the problem right now, and this is where I talk about co-evolution, we co-evolve with algorithms that work in the world we existed and that created that world perceptually. Things are changing very fast and our understanding is not catching up, but that's always been true. Think of the theories we had for why crops grew. They grew because we sacrificed somebody during the winter solstice. And the algorithms seem to work. Now we have science, which is basically a way of testing algorithms, but we're running rapidly ahead of our certainty. Science gave us the idea temporarily that there's certainty, that we knew precisely what's going to happen, we can apply this. We have to realize that science is just a heuristic, and we have to really always be questioning our own understanding.
Could you draw a relationship or a line between physical and chatbots?
Well, there's no line. I think what's similar is the way VisiCalc worked. You didn't think of programming. You did what you were doing, and somebody would watch it. I can describe it in very anthropomorphic terms, which is somebody watching, remembering, repeating what you did, or you start programming terms. Physicality is a case where they're very close and you can see all the mechanisms. As things become complicated, that's harder to do.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.